Hi-ho, this is Kermit the Frog, and you're listening to a brand new episode of the 12A podcast brought to you by the Four-Eyed Radio Network. Yay! If you would like to check out more shows, go to foureyedradio.com. Yay!
Hey listeners, Eric here, also known as Trekkie B47, from the Starfleet Escape Podcast and the Ranger Command Power Hour. The more phenomenal episode you're about to listen to is brought to you by Raven Designs, illustration and design that fit your personality. For samples and inquiries, visit ravencruise.com.
Hey everybody, this is Jeff. I'm excited to talk to our guest today, Nathan Blackwell.
Hey, and this is Steve, and Carly is really going to keep us on a timer tonight. Whew.
Welcome to the 12A podcast, where you're going to learn about movies, entertainment, and a lot of other cool stuff.
And now, here are a bunch of people you would never want to meet in a dark alley. Jeff, Steve, Carly, Nate,
and me. That's funny.
The five of us in a dark alley.
Yeah.
Yikes.
No, we do look very scary. It's very, very white.
A bunch of white people in the dark alley.
Except for me, I'm like the only one of color in this room.
Colored person.
Again.
Oh, awkward.
So how does that work, Sam? Do they see a bunch of white guys and Carly?
They're like, oh shit, look at that dark girl. Let's get out of here.
It would be like, Carly, we gotta get out of here.
Scram.
Get out of here.
Somehow it would be like Carly wrangled together this group of
This ragtag
men.
group of
zombie white men. Or
Zombie white men. All right, on with it. We have Nathan Blackwell here from Squishy Studios. And my first question for you, Nathan, before we even begin, is tell me how Squishy Studios came about and that name.
Well, it's a convoluted story. Let me figure out the shortest version of it. No, I can't think of a short version. It's just,
all right, screw the timer, Carly.
Right. It was between a couple of ones, and for some reason, the kind of the moniker Squishy has been around for like, I don't know, for a long time. It's like I created a fake theme park called, Squishyville Theme Park, and then it's just the word squishy just kept hanging around, and eventually I go, oh well, I need a
Just use it.
name for the production company. I was one of those people who could never decide on the name of a production company,
right?
So it just kind of organically happened.
Stuck with you the whole time.
Yeah.
That wasn't a long story.
Well,
it could have been. Now you're dragging
it was
out
not the
for more?
super detailed.
No, because now I need to backtrack. I want to hear about the theme park. You built the theme park before you built the film company. That's like
Right.
Universal.
Well,
It's great.
Yeah, like Universal Studios.
Right.
Well, yeah. So
All right, so
eventually we'll be closing the movie studio, and then in that full Benjamin Button metaphor.
So all this movie stuff is just to get the theme park, and it's a
Yeah.
stepping stone. I got it. All right. Okay.
There was a goal, there was a plan in the end. So
Very good.
Anyway, so Nathan, would you be considered the creator of Voyage Trekkers? I know you're the director and writing credits, but
Co-creator is probably the way to put it. Yeah, with my friend Craig Curtis, who's been there with the beginning of Squishy Studios as well, and we really kind of started off when we were 14, making films and videos and terrible skits, and that hopefully no one will ever see.
So you still have hidden away on an 8mm or 16mm somewhere in the garage.
Yep.
Steve and I have those.
We have a couple of those in my garage right now. Yes. Very cool. Now, I wanted to get into it. What are some of the other things that you've done besides Voyage Trekkers? I know I saw another one called Normally This Weird,
Right.
Some neighborhood show. But what were some of the other things that you've done that people might know?
We went with the name Squishy Studios for the production company in 2007, and we've done a number of short films. One feature, no budget feature, which we actually started in 2005, called The Constant Epiphanies of Billy the Blood Donor.
Right, based on your brother wrote the script, right?
Right, he wrote a play.
Yeah,
which was
sort of award winner.
Right, which it was only performed as a reading, and it won the East Valley Tribune gave it an award for the best written whatever. Forget what it was.
He's listening right now going, thanks.
It was basically for best written play of the year, and it was for just a reading, and it had kind of come at that point around 2005 at a point where I had kind of almost stopped making movies. You know, it was kind of like the dark days. Where I was always writing and working on things, but I kind of realized I really haven't put anything out in a couple of years, and so I kind of needed something to kind of get back in action. And it's a lot like an athlete, to where you're really out of shape for a couple of years. You know, just kind of looking at it, because Billy the Blood Donor, it's a full 90-minute feature, but it took a year and a half to shoot. And it took a year and a half to edit.
Wow.
And I probably could have done all those things now in, like 9 months or less.
Right.
And so, and so we did a number of short films. But all of the kind of the themes of our movies is that it's a genre that we like with comedy.
Right. Right.
So we did a super spy comedy. Mm-hmm. We did a zombie comedy, a black and white adventure serial comedy.
Right.
A zombie comedy. And we our first attempt at a web series was Normally This Weird, which was about kind of a two newlyweds moving into their very first house. And they discovered that everyone in their neighborhood is completely strange. One family practices dark magic. Another one, he's inventing a death ray in his garage.
Of course,
good old neighbors. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so,
Wait, so that's weird?
Right.
Okay, sorry.
So and that just kind of led the way into Voyage Trekkers, which we never planned to kind of become like a big kind of series. It was supposed to be like a one-off, like a mini series.
Right.
It was just supposed to be 6 episodes. At literally that we shot in a single weekend. Mm-hmm. So if you look at season 1, the shortest episodes, or the ones that seemed like, oh, those were probably all the same location.
Right. Yep.
That's what was on the weekend.
The desert ones.
Yes. Yeah. The 3 desert was the Saturday, and then the shortest indoor ones was the Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it was nuts, but we kind of designed each of those initial episodes to basically just be like 5 to 6 setups each, so we could actually do all 3 in a day.
Right.
Yeah, and we got together the people that we really liked, that we loved to work with.
Right.
And it just kind of became, that was kind of fun, and so we decided to round it out to a full 10 episodes, and those are the longer episodes, the ones that are a little more ambitious in that season, that have a little more production value to them.
Right.
They gave us the most headaches.
Of course.
But we wanted to kind of fill out and round out the season. So that was kind of the premise of season 1, and with season 2, the premise then kind of became a little different, whereas let's kind of bring our A game,
Right.
Mm-hmm. With season 1, we didn't rent any equipment. All the money just went to what you see on screen, and then food.
Right.
Yeah.
You gotta have you gotta have craft.
Right.
That's the number one thing in
keep
filmmaking.
'em fed.
You gotta have craft services. Yeah.
Now, with season 2, you did an Indiegogo, right, for the set?
Yeah. We took kind of a realistic approach, and we figured that we didn't have the fan base at that time to raise everything for all of season 2. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of said, okay, so if we just did like a portion, if we were just like, because that's the thing, is like so we raised $4,000 for that, but I mean, probably 750 to 800 of that went to like shipping and handling and prizes and stuff like that. So you're really only kind of getting like 3,000 out of all that when all is said and done.
And Indiegogo takes a bigger cut than like Kickstarter, right?
Only if you don't hit your goal. Then, then they actually take less.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or I think just 1% less.
Okay, all right.
Or maybe the same, but I think it's 1% less. And then PayPal takes a percentage as well if some of the donations are through there, just like Amazon does that with Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you're looking at probably somewhere around, if you hit your goal, them taking around 7 to 9%.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
all right.
So and then the 25% or 20% of your kind of perks and rewards. So you're and then also if you're it's the situation is that you're probably, if you reach a certain amount, you're probably going to be the IRS is kind of going to expect you to report this as income.
Right.
We heard you made some money.
Right, exactly.
Well, now is Squishy? Do you actually have Squishy set up as a LLC? Or
Actually, yes, as of 1 week ago.
Oh, wow.
That's before the big money gets
Congratulations.
Right, thank you.
Yes.
It was always a trade name because I was worried that someone else was going to take it. Just, you know.
Right, right.
But no, we've been running this Indiegogo. One of the kind of behind the scenes partners of Voyage Trekkers is Trey Goodman, and he's someone that I've worked with as kind of an executive producer for quite a while. You know, since the 90s.
Yeah, and who is Trey Goodman?
So he's a friend of mine. We worked together in our when we had a shared day job together at a TV studio at Channel 11. It was like the city channel.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and neither of us work there anymore. But which we're quite
Thankfully,
proud of.
yeah.
Thankfully.
I hear a lot of nothing but bad.
Well, I haven't been there for some time, and I know that just the cuts that the city has had to make, it's just kind of like, you know, you're just moving around furniture on the Titanic at this point. You know?
Yeah.
But
Yep.
no, so he's been the executive producer. So he's kind of like, it's like, oh, we need $300 for this. Oh, I'll help you out. Oh, we get some free food for this. I'll see if I can find someone. So he's been kind of a cool, but he's literally never been on one of the sets.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
A nice silent partner type of
I
thing
know.
there.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Which
And
is
so-
what every creative guy wants, right? It's just kind of a sugar daddy.
Sugar daddy.
So yeah, unfortunately he hasn't been able to bankroll the whole thing,
Right.
but he certainly helped out, and it's
Awesome.
been very, very, very great. But I'm sorry, what was the question?
No, I was just because you said you brought your A game to season 2.
right,
and I knew
yeah.
one of the things was you guys created the sets.
Right, the Indiegogo, yeah.
Indiegogo
So,
campaign for the set,
we
yeah.
took the whole Indiegogo for season 2 and said let's we need something that the audience wants, and so we formed the whole Indiegogo around the bridge of us building a bridge set.
Right.
And it was very real because we didn't have the money if we didn't succeed in the Indiegogo. And so that $3,000 just went to building the bridge set, which is an insanely low amount actually for what all the expenses ended up being.
Right.
We a lot of the stuff was just kind of stuff that we would find and then make it look like a
Right.
Starship Bridge, or
Yeah.
and then we also had this wonderful luck that. We basically got the warehouse, Levine Machine, through Michael Levine. He donated the space to us. All we had to do was pay for power. And so that saved thousands of dollars.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, did you say all of season 1 was in a weekend?
No, just
Or
those
just
initial
episodes?
initial episodes. Yeah. I believe, I want to say that all of season 1 was shot over... Let's see. So there's the weekends, and then I think each episode after that took a day. So it was only 6 days in all for season 1.
Okay.
And then in season 2, it was double.
Okay.
And then we also had some pickup days, so it was about twice as much for the same amount of episodes, but they were longer.
Right.
Now, my last question that I had for you was, and you even said it for season 2, you didn't have that big of a fan base. At what point did you know you had a big enough fan base, or did you know that people really wanted a season 2, or did you just want to do a season 2 because you had so much fun with it?
Yeah, I think it was that we had so much fun that we wanted to kind of to continue it with a lot of. We've done a lot of work, and we've never really kind of had the response that we had with Voyage Trekkers.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you'd always get people who supported you and thought that was great, but you never had. It was really wonderful and strange when people were really engaged, when they were really wanting to kind of, get deeper into the show, deeper into the characters, and you felt like you were actually kind of connecting a lot with the audience.
Right. It wasn't just thanks, Mom. Yeah, I know you liked it type of thing. So, very cool. I just had a bunch of questions I wanted to know about Voyage Trekkers, and I'm sure anybody listening hasn't heard of them, they might have wanted to know something too. So, and congratulations on meeting your goal for Indiegogo for doing this feature film.
Thank
very,
you.
very awesome there.
Congratulations.
So I bet you guys are really excited about that.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
But you're still wanting more.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We-
of course.
But we still want more. Yeah.
Build a spaceship.
We decided to, again, ask for a realistic amount. I mean, if we kind of went off of what we saw, I mean, if we actually asked the full amount that we need,
Right.
we wouldn't be able to raise it. And so we're asking basically for an amount that's going to get us going to do the costumes and build sets and things like that.
Right.
So when everything does come together, we can kind of rock and roll.
Right.
Yeah, so it's really going to be in my opinion, the most important money of the project because it kind of begins the long-term stuff.
So it's not enough to get you through production through photography?
Yeah, because this time we wanted to pay people.
Right.
And we haven't yet. I mean, with
Right.
season 1, season 2, everyone worked for free.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, and honestly, I mean, if we had, let's say, like a 20-day shoot, $10,000 would be able to pay for 5 people at $100 a day.
Right.
Right.
You know, which is
Right.
like, okay, so 2 people in front of the camera and 3 behind.
Right.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, suddenly when you start paying people, even if it's just $100 a day, which
Right.
at like a 10-hour day or a 12-hour day, that's virtually
yeah.
minimum wage.
Absolutely.
And so we may even have to pay them less than 100, but we want to still at least pay them
Be
something.
able to do something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So at this point, you're going to look for an investor once you get to that point?
Yes. Yeah, we've been kind of doing a lot of that behind the scenes.
Right.
And working those angles. And so optimistically, we'd like to shoot at the end of this year. But if that doesn't happen, then it'd be at the beginning. So.
And then
next year.
Adam, your lead character, he doesn't live here, right? He was...
Correct. During season 2, he moved to New York, and so
Oh man.
yeah. So he and his fiance, now wife, lives in New York.
Okay.
Okay.
And so
You didn't just write them and kill them off then?
Yeah.
Both of you, all right.
That'd be the
Good
cheaper way to do it
question.
than paying for the airfare. But
yeah, people ask me, so are you going to bring him back for the movie? But they don't realize that we've already had to bring him back for season 2.
Right.
We only shot a third of season 2 with him living in Arizona. We had to fly him back twice already.
Wow.
Right, well. Well, it's funny, listening to you talk about your sort of evolution of Squishy Studios sounds a lot like what Steve and I had done with ours, because we kind of went through this period where we did stuff in high school and in college, and then we sort of went on this hiatus, and then we came back and we did you did a lot of your shorts for the Almost Famous, right?
Yeah,
and you did like a 48-hour
type
those
things. Yeah.
Yeah, so we did a lot of the same
Those
things
are bread and
with
butter
IFP.
for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we did the
yeah.
similar thing too, where we try to push ourselves with different genres, like you did the film noir and all these other different things,
Right.
and we did like a horror, and we did a musical, and we did
Everything always had a
thriller.
comedy undertone. Yeah.
Well, no, not
some
all of it.
sort.
With the thriller, like remember we did the thriller, and we're like, let's try and make it like really serious and try and scare ourselves, But typically, you're right. They did have the
Dark
comedy, dark
yeah.
comedy sort of undertones to it, and then we ended up doing a big web series after.
Which I think we shot our load on that, because now that I think more and more about it, our season 1 was 33 episodes.
Yeah.
But it was the same type of thing. It was, like it was weekends, and
Yeah.
I think it was
In June.
June, very long weekends of shooting that whole
Outside.
thing.
Yeah.
But it was just a lot of fun, and we ended up having so much improv stuff going on that the footage, it ended up being 30-something episodes.
Yeah, well, I think we were only shooting for
15, 16?
20, 15 or 20. When we ended up getting so much because we improvised so much of it.
Oh, wow.
That basically, what we did is we set up. It's called HOA Police. It's about these two like community cop guys who police their HOA, and so we run around. It's kind of got a Reno 911 feel to it.
Yes.
Yeah, it definitely does.
And so it's, which neither of us had really seen the show at that point. So we felt pretty good about doing it, like we weren't ripping anything off. And so we filmed it. But basically, what we did is the first one that we did was as an IFP 48-hour film thing, and then from there we kind of took that idea and turned it into a web series. But what we did is we'd pretty much just put a scene together and say, okay, well, this is what's going to happen. This is what character and what props we need. But we didn't write any dialogue. We just kind of showed up and made it up and we shot it reality show type of style. But then what we'd also do is we'd get up with our Sam, who did video, and Derek Carlson, who did our video for us. We would get up with him every morning before the shoot, and we'd actually police the neighborhood, and we'd walk around, and we would really write up violations for people and stuff like that.
Find something wrong, their hose wasn't coiled up properly, something like that,
Nice.
trash can wasn't in, and so that's how we'd warm up in the morning, and then at night, we'd set up the lighting and everything, and we'd do like an interview type process thing, and and it turned out to be a lot of fun, but yeah, that was, I don't know, I don't know if I would want to do a season 2, but I want to do another web series sometime, yeah.
I would. I remember Steve and I talk about this a lot too. Like, you're talking about 12-hour days. And that's the way we had to shoot that thing. And especially improv, you're trying to stay fresh like all day. And when we were shooting in the heat, we would get back at like 10 at night. And we'd both, it's convenient. Steve actually lives in this neighborhood, so it's convenient. So we just go home and take showers, and then we'd get back together and we'd shoot the interviews in the alley behind my house here. And so I just remember like
being so exhausted at the end of the day.
And taking the shower and being like, and just wanting to just lay down and take a nap. But no, you have to get up. Revive, and then go sit down and
But there's something
perform
so,
and improv
and
make
there's
it up and be
so
funny.
rewarding about that, though, and awesome, when you're doing, and especially when you've got like a really good crew, and I don't know who you have, you work with stuff, but when you have a really good crew or just people you love, like, and it seems like your cast, they just are so perfectly cast for this, too.
Yeah, I
Adam
agree
is so
with
great
that.
as the captain and stuff, but, when you're working with a group like that, I mean, it just makes it's so much fun. It's not a job, and so it's great being able to create something like that. And that was, I don't know if that was that way for you with this series, but that's definitely how I felt.
It certainly seems like another similarity, too, because you certainly seem to enjoy working with a lot of the same people.
Yeah. In my mind, it's kind of like an extension of
your family.
Of family and then like film school
Right.
as well, We haven't had like one of those scenarios where we all kind of crash at the same house and sleep overnight or anything like that. But we're definitely
have a pillow fight.
Right, exactly.
I'm imagining it.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, but I mean, a lot of us have not only shot all these 20 episodes of Voyage Trekkers together, but the short films as well.
Yeah.
It's really kind of been a process of kind of collecting and gathering these kind of family members.
Yeah, that's funny. We collected our family members.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Some of you are born
harvested.
into yours, but
Yes.
no, we collect ours as we go along.
Yes.
Now, is it? Excuse me. It's easy for us to see that in terms of the in front of the screen talent. Is that the same way with people you work with behind the scenes? Do you tend to work with a lot of the same people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how we prefer it too. We're cliquish.
Yeah. I mean,
for us, I mean, at least once you get that flow down, it just makes it so much easier when you know kind of what the other person's thinking or how the other person's going to react and stuff.
And we've got like a no diva policy.
There
Not,
you go.
it's like
Yes.
I'm just not interested at all at dealing with that kind of conflict on
Right.
the set. So even if there was like some crew member who would be better than whatever crew member we have on set, it wouldn't make life worth. It wouldn't make the day worth it to put up with that. And I've been on sets like that to where it's just where it's not cohesive.
Right.
Where it's drama, but the wrong kind of drama.
There you go. Yes, that's a good reality
Have you had
show.
that experience on your own set? Like, I'm not hiring that person again.
Not in any big way.
You don't have to name names.
Right. There's certainly been situations it's like, you know what? I think we can do better.
Well, and part of that too is probably just that they don't work well with you, and you don't work with just a personality thing as well.
Right.
And some people are shitheads that you never want to work with.
I was trying to be
Luckily,
nice
we
about it,
haven't
but
had,
all right, all right.
Yeah. Luckily, we haven't had any controversy or anything like that. But there's definitely maybe next shoot we could look for a different.
Yeah.
Well, I want to get into streaming here in a little bit because I watched Voyage Trekkers, so I want to I want to give my input.
So you're more than welcome to, Nathan, at any time yell louder, because when we get into the streaming, I don't know if you watched Sherlock or if you have seen any of Sherlock, but we finally got Jeff convinced, and he watched Sherlock this week, and so we don't know what he thinks of it. But Carly and I are huge fans.
Huge.
So
yeah, and they would pester me like on a weekly basis. Like,
but do we? I don't want to talk about that right now.
Well,
because he'll ruin the night.
If we're going to talk about streaming, we should talk about, because I've got a few other
right
things.
Now, Sherlock right now?
No, not Sherlock right now,
good.
but streaming, okay?
Breathe.
Calm down,
breathe in.
babe.
You got to prepare yourself for this.
Yeah.
I do.
Prepare.
I think I'm going to be disappointed.
So by all means, are you away, Nathan? If you have nothing you want to say at all, if you got anything you watch on Netflix, throw up a middle finger. It's okay. It's all audio. Throw something at Jeff if you get too mad. I might walk out of the room.
I made my streaming very short because I streamed, unfortunately, I streamed so much. So I made mine short, including Voyage Trekkers.
Yeah,
so.
if you include Voyage Trekkers, I'm up to 6 things the last 2 weeks.
Oh, my.
But 2 of them were movies that I watched back to back, and I already talked to Carly all about them. So,
yeah.
Anyways, Carly, start off with the streaming. What did you stream this week?
So I streamed Upside Down, just like because you mentioned
the
it.
Sci Fi.
Yeah. So I want to give my quick opinion about it. As far as the story, my feeling is but the filming must have been super tricky with all the upside down, downside up, and the crisp darkness or like glossiness of the film was really unique to me, and I'd never seen that before. So I praise that part of it, but the story I was like, whatever. I'm not into this.
It was a typical love story.
Whatever. Yeah. But yeah, so that's my on that. I finally watched and bought What the Bleep Do We Know? Has any of you seen it?
Oh yeah, the documentary.
Quantum Physics.
Yeah.
So it's a documentary, and I finally watched it, and I'm not even going to tell you all the things because I originally had like a ton of things to say about this, but all in all, I'm just super happy I finally watched it because it's old. I mean, I don't even know when it was made, but I love quantum physics, and I'm all about the mind and how it works. So I loved that. I want to say something that I've never mentioned, but I watch TED videos. I don't know about you guys, but I watched 3 or 4 a week. No. Do you know what TED is?
Yes.
Okay.
The smart TED stuff.
The smart one, not the
teddy
teddy bear.
Not the lowbrow TED.
I watch about 3 a week, sometimes more. And I'm not going to go into what I watch, but I wanted to mention that because I really enjoy streaming TED.
Yeah.
Okay, I watched this. Voyage Trekkers.
She even has the DVD.
So, I returned it. It was Jeff. I borrowed it. So, entertaining, funny. Acting was good. I'm always really judgmental about acting. Everyone here knows that about me. At first, I felt the shortness of each one. I was being robbed. I was like, what? That's it? But then once I got into the flow of it, I actually really enjoyed it. And then it was actually kind of contagious. Like, I was like, ooh, that's a great idea. But really, the first 2 I watched, I was like, what? There should be more.
I want more.
So I'm not done. Hold on. Okay. I have one more. Just one more. Then I have one thing to say.
I'm going to give you a clock symbol right
I
now.
have been watching the JGL hit record.
Oh.
I watched the whole first series. I don't know if any of you, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, hit record. Wow, I will leave you something on your Facebook.
All of a sudden, now
wow.
You're getting tagged so much on Facebook.
Is
now.
it still good? Because I heard a lot of people talk about it like when it first came out, and then it just kind of disappeared.
Totally. The only I watched, I think there's 8 episodes, and I only disliked 1. Every other one was absolutely amazing and super unique, and I'm very proud of him for doing something different. Yeah. So one of his quotes, focus less on originality and more on sincerity. And I like that. Last but not least, it was not something I streamed. It's something I read about. I don't know if you guys know about the play from like the early 90s called The Normal Heart. AIDS, gay men. Okay. Larry Kramer's, it's a 1985 drama about HIV/AIDS epidemic decimating the gay community in America. Mark Ruffalo is going to be in it. Julia Roberts, Matt Bomer. I don't know how to say his last name. Jim Parsons and Taylor Kitson. I don't know that name. But it looks amazing just from what I read and the pictures, the stills that I've seen. Very excited for it. I did know about the play, but I've never seen it. But I knew about it from people talking about it.
And I've never seen a bad Mark Ruffalo performance.
I
love Mark Ruffalo.
I love him. Well, he's the main character. I forget the name, Ned maybe, but I think he's the one that watches his partner die. And they interviewed them in the article like how they actually got really emotional and like they had to like stop filming and just kind of let them cry things out more than like usual for any of these individual actors that have done been in that similar situation while acting. So it's going to be really emotional. So that's it. The end. Carly's done. I made that really short.
Nicely done. Mine will be really short. Mine's really lowbrow in comparison. I watched more Supernatural. I'm up to like almost the end of season 5 now.
Okay.
The last month and a half. I'm starting the show Arrow. The
Yeah,
DC
I've been
Comics
wanting
one.
to start that too.
So, and it's actually pretty good. So my brother is totally into it, and that was one of the reasons he went to Phoenix Comic Con was because a couple of people from the TV show were there. So I started that. I rented on the last podcast. I rented Before Sunrise. And I finally watched it. And 2 days later, rented Before Sunset and finally watched it. And officially, that's on my top 10 list of best romantic movies right now.
All right.
So really loved it. And Carly has ordered Before Midnight, and so we got to figure out a time to watch that now.
See,
So,
aren't you
yeah.
glad I suggested those? I love dialogue movies.
Yeah.
Oh
No,
my
it was.
God.
We could go on to that for a long time.
We
but I
can,
won't.
indeed.
I won't.
Yeah, we should though. Maybe next podcast.
Next
Yeah, let's
podcast.
do that.
Well,
Let's do it because Jeff has stuff to say about it too.
It brought up something too. Another movie from 1945 called Brief Encounter, which is
Okay.
also on my list, and
Okay.
the whole entire movie is on YouTube. Actually, full length movie. I
You're gonna
couldn't
watch
find
a
it
movie
streaming
from 45?
anywhere. 1945. I
Oh,
did watch
I'm writing
it,
this
Jeff,
down.
and it was pretty good.
Oh,
And it's
yeah,
a
okay.
similar premise too. Before Sunrise, Sunset. It's a black and white. 1945. Come on, watch
I'm
that,
into that kind of
please.
stuff.
Yeah. And then finally, Voyage Trekkers, which
Uh-huh.
my opinion here, the first few episodes, I thought to myself, Jeff and I could never do anything like this because we always involve like Jeff Watson is another person we write with, and we have to have like some storyline between the episodes. And with the first like 3 or 4 episodes, it's just like great snippets, like when they're
I know, I love
they're
that.
breaking in. And it ends up being the birthday party that's going
Yes,
on.
yes,
They shoot
that was
the
great.
shit out of the aliens. I was dying laughing. But my favorite one that in the beginning was when they have the new alien guy and they can't understand his accent, so they play along with that.
That was horrible. I was like, oh, this is so
And then
frustrating.
she ends up playing along with it in the end, and I was just dying laughing. But one of my thoughts was like, these are little sketch type things, which are so perfect for like a consumer watching something, quick
Yeah,
type of
good
thing,
point.
so perfect for a consumer. But I thought, man, this would I don't know if Jeff and I could do something like that, because even with HOA Police, that was kind of our problem. Was like we wanted to have this big old story, and there's a lot of sketch stuff in it, but there's also a whole entire story between
Behind
the 33
it, and yeah.
behind it, and so so well done. But I definitely I enjoyed it.
It's
Definitely made me
comical.
laugh.
It's so entertaining.
It's-
And one thing I really liked was how colorful it was.
Yeah, the lighting and cinematography in that was really, really awesome. And is the captain in red on purpose?
Good question.
Yeah, to kind of give him that heroic.
Okay.
Oh,
I don't know if
not
it's an old
'cause he's
Star
going
Trek
to
reference,
die.
like everybody in the red suits in Star Trek.
Oh my
dies,
gosh,
so.
you guys! I started Doctor Who. Just saying.
Okay.
I've seen.
You've already had your.
I've
time for
seen.
your
I know.
list,
I
but-
apologize, but I've seen them. But never all together. So I decided. So Leland and I, my older son, decided to watch it together. He's fascinated. So we're only on episode 2, season
Are
1.
you the old ones or the newer ones?
Old.
Old.
Yeah.
Old.
Okay. Very good.
All right, we're gonna go. We're gonna leave Jeff for last. So Nathan, what have you streamed the last couple of weeks? Anything good or anything you streamed right now?
So I just finished Star Wars Clone Wars, like the
the
animated
series.
series, and I had dismissed it ever since it came out. Just
Right.
like, oh, well.
Okay.
And so I got into it, and I was really surprised at how good it was in terms of I had kind of like, well, someone I knew, someone I trusted said if you like Star Wars, this is actually required reading, and so I was like, well, I don't know, I don't want to start with the first season. They never know what they're doing the first season, and so I kind of I cherry picked episodes throughout the whole series, just off of like 10 best episodes, or whatever. And then I kind of went around in a weird kind of fashion where I would watch some arcs in season 2, some in season 4, and it was kind of a weird, very kind of...
Yeah, it's a weird way to watch. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
But, because they really only kind of follow very short story arcs of like 3 episodes.
Okay.
Or even like little one-offs. And so you're kind of getting because you ultimately know already what happens at the beginning and at the end. They're kind of filling that space in between.
Interesting.
But But yeah, no, I found it really well written, and it's like Game of Thrones. There's like a contest to kill people. It's like no joke.
Wow.
There's no blood, but
Wow.
they I mean,
die.
if there is some character who doesn't, because it takes place between episode 2 and episode 3, and if there's not a character who appears in episode 3 that was in episode 2, there's
Doesn't
a
bode
real
well.
good chance they're going to kill him.
They killed him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So I forget. Does the movie take place before the TV series, the cartoon movie?
So the cartoon movie I actually saw for the first time last night. I kind of did that to end it because I heard that it wasn't as good as the show.
Right.
And that's my opinion. It's not as good as the show. It looks like a lot of the raw materials were there. It's just they hadn't quite figured it out yet. So it's almost like a proto. Like if you kind of, again, with that logic, it's like, season 1, and they kind of still figuring out what they're
Right.
going to do. That's what the movie is. It's like season 0, you know?
Worked out their kinks with
Yeah,
the
so
movie.
it's certainly not bad. It's just not as good as the series itself.
Right. Okay.
So
All right, good. So you've been Star Warsing it up then?
yeah,
Is it-
so
all right.
I've been Star Warsing it up, and then in addition, I've been watching Orphan Black, which is
I
a
don't
show
know
I
that.
really like.
No, tell
Can
me
you
about
tell
the show.
us what it's about? Orphans that are
Orphan
black?
Orphans. Oh yeah, Orphan
Orphans
Black.
that are black?
I've not heard of
Huh?
this show. No.
No, all
Not
right.
heard
So
of the
there's
show.
a
Hit
Please
me.
explain, elaborate.
We are learning from each other.
Yes.
so it's a BBC show.
Oh,
it's
I'm,
actually,
I'm writing it down. Hold
okay.
on.
It's actually shot in Canada, it's kind of like I would call it a suspense. I don't. It's not a thriller. It's not a suspense story. It's not a drama, but it's kind of like all those aspects together. There's even kind of like a touch of horror, but not really. It's almost kind of like just a general feel. You know.
Is it dark?
I would say it's dark, but not as dark as I thought it would be from like a lot of the promo material. But so they're in their second season right now. It's really, really good. And it's basically the best way to kind of hook you is that this girl, she's from England. She's returning to New York because she used to live there. She's like late 20s, early 30s. She's on a subway platform and she sees someone who looks identical to her, like a twin sister. And as she's kind of watching her from afar, she sees this other person kind of take off her shoes, put down her purse, and then jump right in front of a train. And so then this character, she steals that person's purse and begins to kind of impersonate her life.
Interesting.
And then she encounters someone else who looks exactly like her.
What?
So, yeah.
Whoa.
So
This is like a great science fiction show here.
yeah,
Wow.
it's really good,
Huh.
and there is some science fiction in it. So I'll just leave it at that. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it's just.
You said you streamed it like on Netflix or
How
no?
the hell did I watch it? No, iTunes.
How the hell did I
Yeah, iTunes.
Oh, okay, okay.
So,
All right.
but yeah, it's definitely worth it. It's solid.
Okay.
I've heard
Cool.
good things about it. I don't know anything about it other than great reviews and the aura around it.
Initially, it's got that kind of strong hook of that high concept, but the reason to kind of stay with it is the really kind of strong characters and acting and storytelling.
Love good characters. Okay, Jeff. What did you stream in the last 2 weeks?
I streamed a few different things, but I only want to talk about one of them.
Okay. Tell me
Okay,
what you
let's
wanna
hear
talk
it.
about.
So, in case anybody hasn't been following the last, 80 or 90 episodes of our show, usually in some show, Steve and Carly hound me to watch Sherlock.
Some show, Facebook, wherever we can find you.
Yeah, and not just the two of you. I mean, just wherever I go, you have. It's one of those things that if you haven't seen Sherlock, you're like the bastard child of the world. And
You haven't tried gelato?
Yeah.
Oh my god! Yeah.
yeah, it's one of those things. It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, you don't want to eat the In-N-Out hamburger because there's no way it's going to live up to what everybody's saying about it, type of a thing. So,
All right, good preface.
I
Fine.
didn't want to watch the series because I knew that there was no way to live up to
Sure.
to the thing. All right.
No, I get it. Yeah.
So,
totally understand. I'm already crying on the inside.
Oh, all
So
right.
here's the thing. So I didn't want to watch it because of that. I actually really like the show.
Yes.
And it's
Wow.
enjoyable, and
It is.
I'm almost done with the second season already.
Okay.
Okay.
And which there's 3 episodes in a season, so whatever. So I'm almost in. I'll finish. I'll go through the third.
Okay,
season.
2 questions. One, do you like the thing I was talking to you about with the text? It's really unique.
I love
right?
the production
I told
design
you.
of that. Yeah.
And then 2,
Yeah.
can you see why I'm totally in love with Benedict Cumberbatch?
No, I still don't get that one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Whatever.
Yeah, no, I will say that there's one episode, I forget where he's wearing nothing but his bed sheet. His bed sheet, right? And
I
he's
know.
in the
Buckingham Palace.
he's in the palace,
yeah.
and he's walking away, and the guy steps on his sheet, and it about comes
yeah,
off.
mhm.
And in my mind, I pictured Carly on her couch, jumping up, going,
Oh, I did. And Carl was rolling his eyes next to me like, oh, Lord.
yeah. And
Such
I
a
actually
good show.
fell out of the story because in my mind, I was picturing nothing.
Thanks. Yeah, you were very uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable in that scene, but in a good way for me.
So here's the thing. It's a good show.
Okay.
It's an enjoyable show.
The critic in you's
It's
coming
not
out
the
now.
second coming of Christ, though.
It pretty
And
close.
after
though.
you're
Pretty
done
close.
watching that, after all the hype that I heard, I expected for my pants to be a little bit wet at the end of the episode.
Right.
I thought I was
Yeah.
going to pee a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
But there's just no way for anything to live up to those sort of expectations. So for those people listening to the show who haven't seen Sherlock and are avoiding it because it can't live up to the hype, let me just put it back in reality for you. The first episode is really good, except the very end you will completely fall out of the story. Because at the very end, he's sitting at the table, the pilot episode, and it's him and this serial killer who's trying to outsmart him, and they've got the pill, right? There's 2 pills,
Yeah.
and they're identical, and one of them is poison, and the other one is just a placebo. It's nothing, right? And he's like, all right, if you're so smart, Sherlock, you can pick the right one. And so Sherlock's supposed to be deducing his way through this, and all I can picture in my mind is Vicini from Princess Bride, where he has the cup, and they're trying to, which one, he's like, and he thinks he's so smart, and that's all I can picture the whole time, and I'm like, Sherlock is just Vicini, he's just written differently, that's all.
Okay.
He's just written from the point of view where they let him
Let's
win.
go back to what you were saying, though. You did enjoy it, and you found it entertaining somewhat.
So, moving on,
I'm going to stick with that in
I
my
will
mind.
say,
my
too, it's an hour and a half, so it's
Mini movie.
Yeah.
It's a mini movie,
every
but it
season
doesn't
is 3
have
movies, yeah.
it doesn't have like the movie budget, or right? It doesn't have the
What do you
big.
mean by that? Elaborate.
And that's the thing is that
You want more Michael Bay explosions or what?
Well, you expect
How
like,
American of you. Ew.
So how pretentiously foreign of you.
pretentiously British of you,
I am
Carly.
dark,
Yeah.
so...
Yeah. Whatever.
Spices.
So,
spice up our lives.
so you sort of expect, I don't know. I sort of get to the end of the show, and sometimes it sort of feels like the end was just a bunch of clever editing and nothing really happened. And the other thing too is they move through at such a weird pace. Like you're so frazzled by Sherlock going crazy for an hour and a half, with his OCD stuff that they spend so much time with that, and then they try and move you from one scene to the next scene with like a little line of dialogue that completely loses you. And you're supposed to remember a bunch of it's too.
There's too many little details or something?
Yeah, there's too many
or-
little details, and so to me, maybe I'm just dumb, and I would accept that theory. But it seems like it's trying to be so smart that it loses you in the plot, and so nobody just talks about it because nobody wants to sound stupid. So I kind of feel like a bunch of people walk away from the show being like, "Yeah, I didn't really understand half of what happened, but if I say anything, people are going to think I'm an idiot." So nobody talks about it. And so I'm talking about it. And so there's parts in there where you get lost and you just like accept it and you say, all right, Sherlock's really smart and I'm really dumb, whatever. And so that gets kind of annoying. And the last thing I was going to say is, why is Watson in the show?
Why
Like,
is Watson in the show?
He doesn't really contribute to solving the crimes. Sherlock's got everything figured out. Like I remember, especially early on, like he went to investigate the bodies, and Sherlock chastised him for not knowing what. He's like, "Oh, well, you didn't see you didn't see the Butterfinger underneath the fingertip or whatever."
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
And so it's like, okay, well then why is Watson here? If Watson doesn't have anything, he's
You're-
only there for the craziness of Sherlock to
you need
bounce
to
off of.
wait.
You need to
wait.
finish off the
Yeah.
season 2.
But why
But
should
you're
you
right.
have to
In
wait
the
2
beginning,
seasons to
no,
figure-
in the beginning, you're right because he is very much so like he's like the maid You know, I mean, he's
like
just
useless.
cleaning up
Right.
after Sherlock. He's, you know,
Right.
that's it type of thing. You know, which his
twists
actual
quite a bit, too.
he's renting from, what's her name? She's pretty good in it too. But
Right.
it's a great bonding relationship they have. And yeah, oh man, I haven't
Yeah.
even finished season 3. To be honest, I haven't even finished the last episode of season 3 yet. So I got to finish that up myself.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you at least liked it, Jeff. We could have just ended on that. The critic in you had to come out though.
No.
That's all
This
right.
is a reality check for the rest of the world to bring the expectations of the show down so it's watchable. So you can go in and see a good show, but not the Jesus of all TV shows.
Well, except for Carly and Benedict, so that's okay.
But Carly would watch his head in a fishbowl bobbing there for 5 hours. I think.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. All right. Well, that was a good amount of streaming there. Okay, that was a
Yeah,
lot of stuff.
that was.
I will just do this quickly. I was
What?
trying to figure out my top movies, you guys,
Oh,
because
that's
you all
right.
had your top movies.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear what
I
yours
whittled.
are.
I had 41 top movies, and I've whittled this down to 10
Wow.
because I didn't want to be a Jeff. So
Wait, so is this a top 10 of all
this
time?
is a top 10 of all time for me, and I couldn't even say top 10 of all time. That's so much pressure there.
Yeah.
So much pressure, and there's going to be something you forget. So these are like the top 10 movies that I could always sit down and watch. I will never be bored of these 10 movies.
Okay. So
this
You
is
could say, hey, Steve, come over and watch
yeah.
this movie with me. I'm there in a second, okay?
Okay.
So these are the 10 movies I can always watch. Inception, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, The Princess Bride, Serenity, The Breakfast Club, Before Sunrise Sunset, The Royal Tenenbaums, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Black Hawk Down, and Garden State.
Oh, good list.
Very different movies, but
Yeah.
all 10 of those are that's my top 10 right there.
I
Any
like
one
that.
of those movies, I could always sit down and watch those.
I
Would never
think
be
all
bored
but
of
3 I could do the same.
them. What 3?
Princess Bride. You guys know I hate that movie.
You hate that movie, yeah.
And then the
But we somehow sucked her into seeing Carrie Elwes
Ferris
at Phoenix
Bueller's
Comic-Con, though.
Day Off.
Ferris Bueller's Day
And
Off?
then, I like it, but I couldn't watch it over and over like you're
Okay.
saying. And then there's one other one I don't remember.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right.
I like your list.
But anyways, that's my list. That's my top 10 list. So I got mine done. And then what we should do for the next podcast, you guys, we should probably let's do an all romance one since
I already
we
did.
want to talk about no like the whole podcast themed over romance movies.
Oh, okay.
Because we want to talk about Before Sunrise Sunset. I have a top 10 list of romance
But
movies.
I did
you have
my
your
top 10
You have your top
romance.
list. Yeah, I know you did.
Oh, okay.
But we should theme it. Find a good
Okay.
film history for romance.
Yeah.
Let's theme it all around.
I'm
romance.
gonna step it up, and I'm gonna do my top 10 actors, my favorite actors that are in a romantic. So maybe not the movie so much, but that their
The
character.
actor. Okay, their character. All right, top 10 romantic love flings of Carly's.
Are we ready to
Right.
speed round
Let's
our
speed
guest?
round Nathan here.
All right. So I realize that's like the only intro that we've played.
Yeah, no, in the last 40 minutes, yeah, because
Yeah.
we didn't. We usually have a second
lot of
base for
pressure.
$1.
Yeah, we have a
and
bunch
few
of different
other ones.
segments that we just kind of blew
We're
off.
just like,
yeah.
we'll skip them all. We want
Yeah.
to talk about this Nathan Blackwell guy. Okay, so speed round. Should I go first, Jeff? Because mine are pretty easy. And should we ease him into this?
Yeah.
Okay. I've got 10
I'm always a lot to
questions.
handle.
So it's just
It's just 10
there's no
questions.
defense of
There's
any of these.
No defense of any of
All right,
these.
check
at
out my
all.
blog for a defense of any of my answers.
Yes, yeah, we'll
Especially
pimp all
Studios
that
blog,
later
I got
here.
WordPress.
All right, some of these are pretty easy. Okay. First question: which one is your favorite, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Right now.
Of your most recent trips, which one was more enjoyable or fun, Phoenix Comic-Con or the Jerome Film Festival?
Phoenix Comic Con.
Would you rather direct a movie with Brad Pitt or Harrison Ford as the lead?
Harrison Ford.
Cake or pie for dessert?
Pie.
Film a movie without sound or without color?
Without sound.
Film a romance or a musical?
Romance.
For the rest of your life, eat pizza or tacos for dinner?
Tacos. Yes.
He lives in the
Think of
Southwest.
all of your short films that you've done. What's the first one that comes to mind?
Until the end of everything.
Drink of choice, beer or coffee?
Beer.
I could never answer that question. I could never answer that one. What do you enjoy more, writing or directing?
Writing.
Okay. All right, there you go. 10.
Those are
Nice
good.
job. See? All right.
know,
We got to know Nathan a little bit better there. So
You know, it's funny. I was looking at your short films. Like, if I collaborated with you, like on one project, it would be Until the End of Everything. I love that project. It's so
Thanks.
clever. And we've always one of the things that we've talked about, like one of the ideas we keep going back to, is the idea of doing a choose your own adventure story. And you guys actually did that with your last, season 1 of Voyage Trekkers. So kudos to actually pulling it off. So
Yeah,
good.
looking back at the premise of Until the End of Everything is that it seems like a choose your own adventure where the audience yells out their answers, but it's actually completely railroaded to what would most likely be the case of that the audience chooses the worst thing for the character. The character starts becoming aware of this,
Right.
and I realized, having thought about it for a couple of years, what I should have done is, then once he was killed, is have him loop through the whole thing again.
Can you tell me again what the name of it is so I can write it down?
Until the End of Everything.
Okay, thank you.
And what I love is, like, while these options are being read up on the screen, you can see Adam just sitting there going, "Oh shit! I know they're going to pick
his
the bad
awareness of the situation progresses
Yeah.
as his life continues. Yeah.
So would you do another project like that particular project on another scale?
I would either do maybe a remake of it Until the End of Everything, or kind of take the Choose Your Own Adventure thing a little further.
Right.
Because although it's rough, because just on the Voyage Trekkers Choose Your Own Adventure, where you just have 2 choices.
Right.
It means we had to do 7 videos.
Right.
With 4 endings.
But what was really clever about that is it's just people kind of sitting around a table talking. So you didn't have to if you made this choice, actually go to another location and shoot this one thing that only a third of the audience is going to see.
Right, exactly. We didn't have to do like a good Choose Your Own Adventure that I've seen is like they did this Choose Your Own Adventure zombie movie, and so they meant, depending on what branch you choose, they had zombie effects and physical effects, and and just you could imagine just doing like a day or 2 just on one of those branches.
Right.
Just on one of the videos.
Was it
someone might never see?
Yeah, never gets chosen.
Anyways, I really like that. So was that like a play at a festival piece?
Yeah, we did that. I made it at Scottsdale Community College, and then it played at the film festival there, and then we took it at a couple of other festivals like Dances with Films.
So when you saw it screened, did people actually shout at the screen? Which one? Yeah. And did they pick the one you wanted, or were they like, Yeah.
It's a split. Usually they do choose the one that's first for the character, and so in that way it's accurate. But yeah, occasionally you have to kind of let them know for the first one that it's okay to yell out.
Right.
So
right.
Kind of get a ringer or 2
They
in
think
there.
that's weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right, speed round.
Sorry.
Jeez. Man. All right. You got 10 questions? Are you changing up the rules or anything?
I didn't count. So there's 2 halves.
Oh,
See,
no.
Jeff always changes
Here
up the
we
rules.
go.
He's always changing up the
Okay,
rules.
so I wrote a bunch of similar questions to actually what Steve wrote.
Okay.
But then I threw in, just for fun, about a month ago, I had watched Wolf of Wall Street.
That was a fun one when you did.
So I wrote
that.
this questionnaire for our speed round saying, okay, if we ever made it famous, like in Wolf of Wall Street, have you seen Wolf of Wall Street? Right. So if you ever make it big and some sort of wheel and deal guy, what sort of decisions would you make as that guy?
When you've got those hundreds of millions of dollars.
And since you're a filmmaker, if you ever
Right.
make it big, I thought this
That's
would be a good
perfect,
questionnaire.
Jeff.
So I've got a handful of Steve-type questions I'm going to ask you, and then we'll
Okay.
jump into the Wolf of Wall Street questions. All right, you ready?
All right, begin.
All right, here we go. Pick one of these. These are very similar to Steve's questions, too. Pick one of these for your next film project. A dramatic romance, a musical, or an educational video.
Well, I do educational videos for a living, so I'd say the dramatic romance.
Oh, okay. All right. The one that you don't have to do.
Right.
Okay. Would you rather, and this is funny because we already talked about this today, too. Would you rather make a big Hollywood movie and makes lots of money with your name and lights, but you have to deal with Hollywood assholes all day, every day? Or make smaller budget movies making a reasonable living, but you're happy going to work every day?
I'd say the last one.
Yeah. I pictured that from our conversation earlier. All right, so which classic movie star would you most like to make a movie with? John Wayne, Jimmy Stewart, Cary Grant, or Frank Sinatra?
Jimmy Stewart.
All right. Which iteration of Star Trek is your favorite?
The Next Generation.
Next Generation. All right. Okay. If offered, which one of these movie franchises would you personally want to helm the reboot of?
Okay.
You have 3: Predator, Terminator, or Batman. Batman.
Right. I don't think I'd do a great job of it, but that's the best one. Yeah.
All right. If you were offered $20 million to make Voyage Trekkers the movie, but it had to be a musical filmed entirely in the nude, would you do it?
No.
He's like, nah.
Man.
Okay.
Really push that
All
one
right.
there.
Cast and crew, by the way. All right.
I don't know. Yeah, definitely not.
Okay. All right. So now here is your Wolf of Wall Street questionnaire. All right. You ready?
Okay.
All right. Here we go. So the idea is that you're filthy rich and you're out of control. Okay. So Nathan Blackwell's filthy, filthy rich and completely out of control, out of his mind. What would be your vice? Sex, drugs, or alcohol?
Ooh. I don't know. Alcohol is a pretty easy one to get into.
All right. Do you fill your company with loyal friends or the most qualified people you can find?
Loyal friends.
All right. Pick one: a private jet or a private yacht.
Ooh, private yacht.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pick
I'm on a boat.
Right?
boom. All right. All right. Pick a number, any number.
17.
17. 17. Okay, that's the number of divorces that you have. Okay, you got away with a big $50 million pull. You can either retire and never work again, or would you risk going for the $100 million heist?
Ooh, let's go for the heist.
All right.
Because I'm an alcoholic at this point, right?
Right.
What are you going to lose?
like
Right.
that.
Work on your 18th divorce. So.
Okay. So choose one of these: a house in the Hamptons, top of a skyscraper in New York, or a private island in Belize.
Ooh, private island.
Ooh, good job. Okay, when you're finally arrested, you can either spend 10 years in jail or 6 months in jail if you rat out all of your friends.
Ooh, let's rat out.
Yes. Yes. That's it.
It's so funny because I gave these guys the same questionnaire, and Steve and Carly both did the same thing you did. They
Surrounded ourselves with people that were good friends, but we ratted them all out to get out of jail. Yes.
Yep.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
They knew what they were in for.
They knew what they're in for. They were
They
just
had poor
around there
choice
for
of
the money.
friends.
So, yeah.
There is a note coming in, by the way, a Toyota Highlander. Is anybody
With
driving a
license
Toyota?
plate end in JNX. Yeah, it's mine. My kid left the light on inside.
Okay.
But don't worry, he's not in the vehicle. His mother
Oh
came
my
to pick him
God.
up.
You're like, shh.
Just
I
so
left
you all
him.
know. But yes,
Thank God,
he had
because
to-
I am making a PSA about leaving your kids in hot cars right now.
Oh, jeez.
Pro or against?
Oh my
That may have been our
goodness,
first- that may have been our first note
Horrible.
Yeah.
that we received.
Yes.
We have
That
a
was
note
awesome.
from the audience.
It's a paging a Highlander
Exactly.
Toyota.
All right, there you go. Good speed round. All right, now we know a little bit more about you. So,
Yeah.
all right. Carly, what do we have for a time check? Can he do film history in 4 minutes? Impossible.
Indeed. I don't know if he can do it, but we have 4 minutes.
Okay, all right, let me play my music.
Oh Lord.
That's 2 minutes of it.
It's time for This Week in Film History.
Okay, so film history, I actually just had a discussion topic instead of a lecture.
Okay.
So my question is, and I thought this was especially relevant for your work with Voyage Trekkers, is what makes a good science fiction movie?
I can tell you the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, I know, Steve, you're a big science fiction guy too.
The
So.
first thing that comes to my mind is a new world, like new rules, like changing the rules of reality or something.
Right.
So take me to a different place. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of the first things is like, do I want to visit there? Do I want to go there? You know, it's like with like a James Bond movie, which is not sci-fi, but it goes along with like sci-fi. It's like, are these toys I want to play with? You know,
Right.
Is it lightsabers or phasers? Do I want to imagine myself just running around in that world?
Right.
Yeah, so that I think is probably the biggest, beyond like any kind of explosions or spaceships or anything else like that. Like if
Or
I can get
deeper meaning
immersed.
The
about
verbs
the
of the
reality.
world. That's
Yeah.
what that says. The verbs of the world.
There
The
you
verbs
go.
of the world.
Yeah. So that's what I would think.
Sounds very deep. The verbs of the world.
And then the second would be how are they using sci-fi to say something about now? You know,
Right. Okay.
and that's obviously less the space opera adventures, you know, but like, you know, what are they saying using these metaphors? Because I mean, ultimately, all art is metaphors, but sci-fi you can kind of twist it even a little further because it's, you know, fantastic.
Right.
And what are they saying about us now?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you can do the same thing with like Lord of the Rings, because that's just as fantastic. But there's not that kind of same tradition of like fantasy saying something about something contemporary. If anything, like fantasy is like talking about old myths and things like that. You know.
Right.
Yeah, and that's very much so how like Elysium was, and this was one we were talking about, like with Elysium with
Right.
Matt Damon. Jeff and I went and saw it in the theaters, and it's a really great idea of the world, and then there's this place in space where, you know, everybody is perfect and healed and everything like that. But there is very much so the vibe of the whole, you know, crossing the borders and stuff like that when they're trying
Right.
to sneak onto the ships to go to Elysium, and so that created a cool world. But then it also talked about stuff that, you know, was a political
Right.
thing today.
And again, it's kind of like a metaphor, and so they're not saying literally the same thing, but you're kind of like getting in the shoes of those people of like contemporary times,
yeah.
and you kind of get a better understanding of what they would go through.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I remember a lot of people talking about the politics, like on political shows. I'm like, don't bring this in. I don't want to watch some people get shot. Don't ruin this for me.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was very let down by some of the fight sequences in Elysium, you know, especially when
And
he's
the
in that
story
suit
structure,
and
yeah.
the story
Yeah,
structure.
the first half was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They lose it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that too, because I remember. So when I saw Star Trek into Darkness. No, I didn't see it, but around the time that was coming out, I was like, oh, I'm going to spend the next year watching the original Star Trek. So I went back and I'm watching the original TV series and the original movies. I'm on the last season, and I'm over halfway through the movies. But what I really, really loved, especially about the first season in Star Trek, I mean, it's really throughout the whole thing, but especially the first season, is just, I remember how refreshing it was to see a show that was actually about something and said something about humanity. Like, I feel like I watched so many just sort of brain dead shows that are about whatever.
Bonanza and
things
like that.
It's so great to see a show that's actually about humanity and very reflective, and how it was told in this sort of creative way where you understood what they were talking about, but it wasn't even like preached at. It was like, oh wow, that's really reflective.
And you see that a lot more with science fiction, because you even think about like current science fiction TV shows and stuff like that. That kind of a story thing, I think you hit a good point there, Nathan. That comes up a lot more with the whole political stuff. Like, I can't remember the one, and it got canceled, where, you know, the lights are out in the whole country and stuff like that, and it's talking about how
Revolution,
yeah, you know, and so there, but so many of them that it's a great science fiction story, puts you in a different world or a different version of your world, but there's a great political
Walking
undertone
Dead's
or
like
something
that.
like that. So, yeah, Walking Dead's even like that. Yeah, if you want to throw that into there. So, but,
Well, Sam, you haven't been able to say but maybe 3 words. This,
No, that's fine. I've been listening.
You're a big
He's been
science
entertained.
fiction
I
guy.
think he muted you
yeah.
during the whole
Yeah.
rant and
I've
rave
been
about
muted.
Sherlock. So
Yeah, I'll have to listen to this show and see.
They're like, why
I-
is it silent for like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
There's a problem.
I will say, I everyone told me I should watch Frozen,
Okay.
the movie. So I rented it.
okay, it's not a science fiction, but okay.
No. But I didn't know it was a musical.
Oh, yeah.
5 minutes, there's like 25 songs.
Really,
ejected the
Disney? I mean,
I
you didn't
ejected
know?
the disc and I didn't watch it, and
You
I
seem
gave it
like-
2 stars.
Little
You gave it 2
Mermaid or
stars without
Beauty
watching.
and the Beast or anything
They're
else.
all
They sing in
musical.
everything, right?
I didn't know
So-
Frozen was a musical. They're like, oh, it's a great story and animation. I'm like, okay, and then musical, and I'm like, out.
Okay.
So
Sam,
question.
So the question was science fiction.
science fiction. See, I'm not as highbrow as that. To me, it's like if you have half-dressed girls running around shooting these awesome guns with amazing audio effects, because I'm an audio guy. I'm in.
Okay.
okay.
I love it. You know?
Good to know. I'll be researching for you.
Yes.
All right.
Do they have to be half dressed?
They can be.
And which half?
Good question,
That's
Nathan.
the important part.
the right questions.
That's the spice of life. You just don't know.
Don't. People are into
surprise.
different things.
Right.
Yeah, that's all.
Right.
So the question I have for you, Sam, is how do you give two 2 stars to a movie you don't finish.
Because he said
Wait,
two
how
minutes.
much did he see of it? So
I
you watched
literally
5
saw
minutes?
5 minutes.
So just 2 stars for those full 5 minutes. So he'd watch the whole thing. That's
Yeah,
like
I would have.
40 stars, right?
Exactly. It does not equate.
Yes, it's
my friend.
logarithmic. Well, the funny thing was, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll watch the behind the scenes because I'm a techie and I like to understand.
Oh Lord.
I like to understand how they do things. And
I love that too.
Like the behind the scenes starts off with them singing, and I'm like, okay, eject, out. I'm sending it back, not even watching it. So I'm like the one guy in the world that doesn't like Frozen.
That's good.
So
So how did it get the 2nd star?
I don't know.
For
I
effort.
can't be mean about
Yeah,
it.
I mean, horrible. Right. I didn't want to be mean.
Yeah. Well, that was nice of you,
See,
Sam.
this is why I was silent the whole time. I don't really have anything meaningful to contribute to this whole discussion.
The last hour, he's just wanted to complain about Frozen. He's like,
He couldn't wait.
Just couldn't wait to get it out.
When do I get the mic?
Oh,
No, I was caught off guard. So
Science fiction. I'll throw it in there.
yes, no, but
Somehow.
I do think, in all honesty, I mean, I just reread Dune again, and there is a lot of politics in science fiction.
Yeah.
Really,
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of things that have to do with the way we are, where we're heading. Do we want to go that way? And it's sort of, even as sort of advanced as a society gets technologically, we're still humans and we still revert to some way our caveman days. You know what I mean? And it's like science fiction, I think, more than anything else, shows you that just because you reach a certain technological level, if you don't progress as a society to that level, then you don't really change.
You're not really progressing.
You're really not progressing, So,
Yeah.
and I think science fiction does a lot of that. It shows how human we are, even though we can build these cool ships and guns and we can travel in time or space. It's like we're still
That's
human.
a good point, Sam.
And we still suffer the same issues.
No matter how
Absolutely.
advanced
Right.
we were. Which made me think of Edict Zero, which is
Yeah,
Jeff.
Sci-Fi.
Jeff was asking about audio dramas to listen to. The We're Alive one is great, but Edict Zero is a really great, but sci-fi one. But it's the same thing, and it's, we're all just human, same mistakes, no matter how cool
Sam,
our
that
phasers
was really
are.
insightful.
Well, I don't know what better note to end on than
That kind of works for me.
Sam's was perfect.
But
I'm glad it didn't end on Frozen.
we still have 3 or 4 more days to Indiegogo on Voyage Trekkers.
Right. It ends on Sunday, June 29th.
All right. Okay.
And for those of you in town, that night is also a comedy show, right?
Yes.
Right.
Plug that. What's
I
going
know,
on with
I
that?
wanted to
so
go.
I got an
Yeah.
invite. I think I'm going to go.
I know.
so.
I wanted to go. I don't know if I can.
At 7 p.m., we're doing kind of like a night of comedy. It was put together by one of the cast members who plays the Admiral, James Hohenscheit. And so there's going to be stand-up comedy. There's going to be sketch comedy by Bully Mammoth. If we can figure out how to play some episodes there, we'll do that too. But yeah, it's just going to be kind of a night to hang out and drink beer. And 7 p.m. Sunday at Monkey Pants in Tempe.
Cool.
Which I hear is a really great venue.
Yep.
It's
It
fun.
is.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay,
Cool.
great.
Thanks,
Well,
Nathan.
thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Nathan, for being on the
Thank
show.
you. You
And,
can check out Voyage Trekkers at voyagetrekkers.com.
Excellent.
And
SquishyStudios.com.
squishystudios.com.
Yeah.
If you want to check
Although
out
that
any
website
other
hasn't been
things, but-
updated nearly as.
So go to Voyage Trekkers.
He's like, backtrack.
Strike that back. Voyage Trekkers. Voyage Trekkers. Voyage Trekkers.
Right. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch you on the next show. Thank you very much. All right.
The 12A podcast is produced by 12A Productions and distributed by the 4-Eyed Radio Network. To learn more about the podcast or to see what other projects the 12A team is working on, check out 12aproductions.com.
I don't know about you, Jeff, but I'm ready to take my pants off.
Yikes.
This has been another proud production of the 4-Eyed Radio Network. You want to see more shows, go check out www.4eyeradio.com, you winkers.